When someone asks you if you can trust a person at their word, you always say yes, until you see their phone in your best friend's hands. It all started with that call from Marcus. It was Friday. I had just returned from the port after a difficult navigation, a large container ship with engine problems, and I had to guide it through the narrowest sections of Baltimore Harbor. I was exhausted but satisfied with the work. My name is Victor, I'm a harbor pilot and I've been married to Christa for 6 years. She told me she was going away for the weekend to visit her friend Jennifer in Philadelphia. Supposedly Jennifer needed moral support after a breakup. I didn't object, although our 6-year-old daughter Emily was disappointed. She wanted her mom to help with her costume for the school play. Marcus called at 9 in the evening. His voice sounded tense. Victor, we need to talk. In person. He arrived in 20 minutes. We sat in the kitchen. Emily was already asleep upstairs, and our black cat Noir was dozing on the windowsill. Marcus couldn't start for a long time, spinning his coffee cup in his hands. I saw Christa, he finally exhaled. At the airport. She wasn't flying to Philadelphia. My stomach clenched. Where? To Miami. There are direct flights to Ibiza from there. She wasn't alone. Marcus's next words shattered my world into pieces. Jonathan. My old acquaintance, the guy who often came to our parties, who photographed our wedding 6 years ago. The same Jonathan that Christa always talked about as just a friend. They were hugging Vic. Not in a friendly way. I didn't know what to say. Marcus showed me a photo, blurry but clear enough. Christa and Jonathan at the check-in counter, his hand on her waist. She was looking at him the way she used to look at me. The first 2 days I just existed. I drove Emily to school, went to work, cooked dinner. Noir seemed to sense my condition. He stayed close all the time, purring softly when I sat at home in the darkness, staring at my phone. Christa sent me photos from Philadelphia, streets, cafes, selfies with Jennifer. But I already knew the truth. I checked. All these photos were taken a month ago. I had seen them on her Instagram. When she returned Sunday evening, tanned and happy, I greeted her as always. A kiss on the cheek, questions about the weekend. She talked about Jennifer, about how they went shopping, and I nodded, smiled, feeling something cold and hard inside me replacing the warmth I had felt for her. I started investigating. Carefully, methodically. It turned out that Christa and Jonathan had been messaging for over a year. I found an old phone she had forgotten in the dresser drawer. The one she used before we bought her a new one for her birthday. There were messages there that explained everything. They became lovers after one photo session he did for her nail salon. I've never felt so alive, she wrote to him. With Victor, everything is predictable, boring. He's a good father, but I can't live like this. The worst part was realizing she had never loved me. Not really. I was a convenient option, stable, reliable, with a good pilot salary. And Jonathan was the one she really wanted. This was the moment when I understood, there was no going back. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started planning. Divorce in Maryland can be complicated, but I knew one thing. Our house, which we bought together, was registered in my name because at the time Christa had problems with her credit history. The car? Also mine. Joint account, yes, but I earned most of the money. But that wasn't the main thing. I wanted her to feel what I felt. For her world to crumble just as unexpectedly. I called Christa's mother, Diane. We always got along well. She considered me the perfect son-in-law. I invited her for coffee, said I wanted to discuss a surprise for Christa. When we met, I showed her everything. Photos from the airport, screenshots of messages, evidence of the trip to Ibiza. Diane didn't believe it at first. Then she cried. Then she got so angry that I even got scared for her. Christa had always been her favorite daughter, her princess, and Diane had invested all her love in her after her father left when Christa was 10. She's turning into her father, Diane whispered through tears. I tried so hard to raise her differently. I asked Diane to keep this secret. For now. She agreed, although I could see how hard it was for her. Next was Christa's brother, Michael. He served in the Coast Guard. We sometimes went to the bar together. I told him everything. The reaction was explosive. Michael wanted to immediately come and talk to Jonathan, but I stopped him. I have a plan, I said. But I need your help. 3 weeks after her return from Philadelphia, I organized a family dinner. I invited Diane, Michael, his wife Sarah, my parents, even my sister Olivia, who flew in from Denver. Christa was surprised but pleased. She loved being the center of attention. Jonathan was there too. I specifically invited him. Said I wanted to order a professional photo session for a family album. He agreed, even offered a discount for old friends. The dinner was going wonderfully. Laughter, conversations, Emily running between adults, nor begging for food under the table. Christa was glowing. She had prepared her signature dishes. Everyone was praising them. Jonathan was taking photos, smiling. Sometimes his gaze met Christa's, and I could see that understanding between them. When it was time for dessert, I asked for attention. I said I wanted to show everyone something special, videos from our travels. I turned on the projector, which I had specifically installed for this evening. What appeared on the screen weren't our old videos. Instead, photos of Christa and Jonathan at the airport. Then, their photos from Ibiza, which Jonathan posted on his private profile. Thanks to Marcus, who had mutual friends, I got access. They were on the beach, embraced. They were in a restaurant, kissing. They were on a yacht, her head on his shoulder. The silence in the room was deafening. "This was when you went to visit Jennifer," I said calmly, looking at Christa. Her face first turned white, then red. "Philadelphia, right?" Jonathan jumped up, trying to say something, but Michael stood up and looked at him in such a way that he sat back down. Diane started crying. My father looked grimly at Christa. My mother hugged Emily, who didn't understand what was happening, and led her out of the room. "How many more trips were there?" I asked. "How many times did you lie to me?" Christa tried to deny it, but I showed more screenshots of their correspondence, hotel bookings, tickets. It was all there. A year of lies, a year of double life. "I love him," finally came from her. "I didn't plan it, it just happened. Victor, you're good, but we're not right for each other. I don't feel what I should feel." "You could have said that a year ago," I replied. "You could have been honest. But instead, you decided to make a fool of me." Diane approached Christa. "Pack your things and go," she said quietly but firmly. "I didn't raise you to be like this. I'm ashamed of you." This broke Christa more than anything else. She cried, tried to hug her mother, but Diane pulled away. Michael approached Jonathan. "You have 5 minutes to get out of this house," he said. "And if you ever try to contact my niece, I'll personally make sure you regret it." Jonathan fled first. Christa tried to talk to me, explain, beg, but I just looked at her. The woman I loved was gone. Maybe she never existed. She left that same night. Took only clothes and personal items. Everything else remained. I thought it couldn't get worse, but the next morning when Emily came downstairs asking where Mommy was, and I had to explain that Mommy wouldn't be living with us anymore, that was worse. Her little face crumpled, tears started flowing, and I held her, feeling my own tears mixing with hers. Noir rubbed against our legs as if trying to comfort us both. The following weeks were a blur of lawyer meetings, paperwork, and Emily's questions that I didn't always know how to answer. "Did Mommy stop loving us?" she asked one night. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, sweetheart," I told her, stroking her hair. "You did nothing wrong. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and this is Mommy's mistake, not yours." Christa tried calling multiple times. At first I didn't answer. Then when I finally picked up, she was crying, saying she wanted to see Emily, that she missed her, that we could work this out. "Work this out," I repeated. "You lied to me for a year. You took our money, our time, our trust, and you threw it all away for him. There's nothing to work out." "I made a mistake," she sobbed. I was confused. "I love you, Victor. I love our family." "No," I said. "You love the stability I provided. You love the house, the lifestyle, the respectability. But you never loved me. Your messages to Jonathan made that very clear." She went silent. "How did you?" "It doesn't matter how," I interrupted. "What matters is that I know the truth now. And so does everyone else." The divorce proceedings began. My lawyer, Richard, was a sharp man in his 50s who had handled dozens of divorce cases. When I showed him all the evidence, he actually smiled. "This is one of the clearest cases I've seen," he said. "Documented infidelity, proof of deception, and the house in your name. She doesn't have much ground to stand on." Christa's lawyer tried to argue that she deserved half of everything, that she had contributed to the household, that she had been a good mother. Richard countered with the evidence of her year-long affair, the lies, the trips she took with marital funds to meet her lover. The hearing was brutal. Christa sat across from me in the courtroom, looking smaller somehow. Jonathan wasn't there. Apparently, he had decided to stay away from the legal proceedings. Smart move. Her lawyer called her to the stand. She tried to paint a picture of a marriage that had grown cold, of a husband who was always working, never home, emotionally distant. I listened to her rewrite our history, turning my long hours of work that paid for our comfortable life into neglect, my trust in her into ignorance. Then it was my turn. Richard asked me simple questions. How many hours a week did I work? About 50, sometimes 60 during busy shipping seasons. Did I provide for the family? Yes, entirely. Did I know about the affair? No, not until my friend saw them at the airport. Did I ever suspect? No, because I trusted my wife. Did you love your wife, Mr. Victor? Richard asked. Yes, I said, looking directly at Christa. I loved her completely. I trusted her. I believed in our family. I was a fool. Christa looked away. Then Richard presented the evidence. The photos, the messages, the hotel receipts, the flight bookings. Everything laid out in neat chronological order. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked through it all with increasing disapproval. Mrs. Christa, the judge said, do you deny any of this evidence? Christa's lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head. No, Your Honor, she said quietly. And do you deny that you used marital funds for these trips to meet your companion? Another whispered consultation. No, Your Honor. The judge looked at her for a long moment. I've seen many cases in this courtroom, she said. Some marriages end because people grow apart. Some end because of irreconcilable differences. But what I see here is a deliberate, sustained pattern of deception and betrayal. Mrs. Christa, you not only broke your marriage vows, but you did so while using your husband's resources and lying to your child. The custody decision came next. The judge granted me full physical custody, with Christa getting supervised visitation twice a month until she could prove stable housing and employment. The house, the car, and most assets stayed with me. Christa got her personal vehicle and half of the joint savings account, which wasn't much, as Richard had pointed out, since most of her nail salon earnings went to personal expenses. And then, even worse, after the court decision, Diane called me. Her voice was heavy with pain. Victor, I need you to know something, she said. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm writing Christa out of my will. Michael agrees. Everything will go to Emily instead, held in trust until she's 25. Diane, you don't have to. Yes, I do, she interrupted. My daughter made her choices. But my granddaughter deserves better. She deserves to know that her family, what's left of it, values loyalty and honesty. Michael called shortly after. Mom told you about the will? He asked. Good. I want you to know, brother, and you are my brother now more than Christa is my sister. I'm here for whatever you need. Emily's college fund? I'm contributing. School activities? I'm there. You're not doing this alone. Before I continue, please pause the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new interesting stories. Thank you. The support from Christa's own family hit her harder than the divorce itself. I know because Sarah, Michael's wife, told me. Apparently, Christa had tried to reach out to her mother multiple times, showing up at Diane's house, calling, sending letters. Diane refused to see her. You broke your family, Diane had told her through the closed door during one visit. You broke your daughter's heart. You broke a good man who loved you. I can't forgive that. I won't. Christa had reportedly collapsed on the doorstep, sobbing. Diane hadn't opened the door. Meanwhile, life continued. I took Emily to her school play. She was a flower in the chorus, so proud in her costume that I had helped her make. Noir came with us in his carrier, because Emily insisted he was part of the family and should see her perform. The other parents were kind, though I could feel their pity and curiosity. They knew news travels fast in our neighborhood. Jonathan's photography business began to suffer. It started slowly, a cancellation here, a rescheduled appointment there. But word spread. Michael and his Coast Guard friends had made sure of it, mentioning to their friends and family who mentioned to their friends and family and so on. Within 3 months, Jonathan had lost over 60% of his bookings. I heard through Marcus that Jonathan and Christa had moved in together, renting a small apartment in Towson. The rent was higher than Jonathan expected, and with his declining business, money was getting tight. Christa tried to find work at other nail salons, but her reputation had preceded her. The owner of the salon where she had worked, who was a friend of my sister Olivia, had made some calls. Professional courtesy, she called it. Warning other business owners about hiring someone who might bring drama and negative attention. Emily started therapy. The child psychologist, Dr. Henderson, said she was doing well, all things considered. Children are resilient, she told me. But they need stability and honesty. You're providing that. She asks about her mother, I said. She wants to know why Christa left. And what do you tell her? That her mother made a mistake. That sometimes adults don't make good choices. That it's not Emily's fault. That's exactly right, Dr. Henderson said. Keep reinforcing that. The blame lies with the adult who made the choice, not with the child. This was the calmest day before the storm of what came next. 4 months after the divorce, I received a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Victor. It was Jonathan's voice. Please don't hang up. I almost did. But curiosity stopped me. What do you want? I need to talk to you. About Christa. I have nothing to say about her. Please. Just hear me out. 5 minutes. I looked at Noir, who was watching me with his yellow-green eyes. 5 minutes, I said. She's not doing well, Jonathan said. She won't eat properly. She barely sleeps. She's depressed, Victor. Really depressed. And this is my problem because? Because she's Emily's mother. Because whatever happened between you two, she's still a human being. I laughed, a cold sound even to my own ears. She was a human being when she was lying to me. When she was spending our money on trips with you. When she was risking our daughter's stability for an affair. Where was your concern then? I know we made mistakes. Mistakes. I interrupted. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. What you two did was a calculated, sustained betrayal. She loves you, Jonathan said quietly. She told me. She made a mistake choosing me. Is that why you're calling? Because she regrets it? Because it's not as exciting now that you're living together and dealing with real life instead of vacation flings. Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Don't call me again. Whatever consequences Christa is facing are the result of her own choices. She's an adult. She can deal with them. I hung up. But the call bothered me more than I wanted to admit. Not because I felt sorry for Christa, I didn't. But because I wondered if this was affecting Emily. So I called the court-appointed supervisor who monitored Christa's visits with our daughter. How are the visits going? I asked. Honestly, Mr. Victor? The supervisor, a woman named Margaret, sighed. They're difficult. Mrs. Christa tries, but she's very emotional. She cries a lot. Emily comforts her, which concerns me. The child shouldn't have to parent the parent. Should I stop the visits? Not yet. But I'm documenting everything. If it continues to be detrimental to Emily's well-being, I'll recommend to the court that visits be suspended until Mrs. Christa can demonstrate emotional stability. My reaction shocked even her friends when they started reaching out. Apparently, some of Christa's friends from the nail salon had heard about the situation and thought I was being too harsh. One of them, a woman named Kelly, even had the audacity to show up at my house. You've ruined her life, Kelly said when I opened the door. She made a mistake, yes, but everyone deserves a second chance. She had 6 years of chances, I replied. 6 years where she could have been honest, could have told me she was unhappy, could have left with dignity. Instead, she chose to lie and cheat. Those are the consequences of her actions. But her own mother won't talk to her. Her brother cut her off. She's lost her job, her home, her child. She lost those things because of what she did, I said. Not because of what I did. I didn't make her have an affair. I didn't make her lie. She chose that. Now she has to live with it. You're heartless, Kelly spat. No, I corrected. I'm protecting my daughter from learning that betrayal is acceptable. I'm teaching her that actions have consequences. That's not heartless. That's being a parent. Kelly left and I never saw her again. What happened after that was worth hearing. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Diane called me with news. Christa came to the house again today, she said. She brought Emily's medical records, said she needed them for something. I told her you had copies and she should contact you. Did she leave? Eventually. But Victor, she looked bad. I mean really bad. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What stopped you? I remembered Emily's face when you told her that her mother wouldn't be living with you anymore. I remembered how my granddaughter cried herself to sleep for weeks. That stopped me. A week later, I heard through Sarah that Christa and Jonathan had broken up. Apparently, the stress of their situation, the financial problems, the social ostracism, the guilt, had destroyed whatever they thought they had. Jonathan had moved out, leaving Christa alone in the apartment with rent she couldn't afford. I felt nothing. Maybe that was the saddest part. This woman I had loved, who I had built a life with, who had given me my daughter, and I felt nothing at her struggles. The love had been replaced by indifference, and that was almost worse than hate. Emily's next therapy session, Dr. Henderson mentioned that Emily had asked about her mother. She wants to know if her mommy is okay, Dr. Henderson said. She's worried about her. What did you tell her? That her mommy is an adult and has to take care of herself. That Emily's job is to be a kid, to go to school, to play with friends, to be happy. Not to worry about grown-up problems. Is she accepting that? Children always worry about their parents no matter what, Dr. Henderson said. But she's doing well. She's adjusting. She has you, she has her grandparents, she has stability. That's what matters. 1 year after the divorce, Christa requested a modification to the custody agreement. She wanted more visitation time, overnight stays. Her lawyer argued that she now had stable housing and employment. She was working at a salon in Columbia, farther from Baltimore, where her reputation hadn't followed her. Richard prepared our counterargument. Margaret, the visitation supervisor, provided her reports. They painted a picture of visits where Christa was often late, sometimes canceled, and when she did show up, spent much of the time on her phone or crying. The judge reviewed everything and denied Christa's request. Mrs. Christa, the judge said, you've made some progress in establishing stability. However, the reports from the visitation supervisor indicate that you're not using your current time with your daughter effectively. When you can demonstrate consistent, appropriate interaction during your supervised visits, we can revisit this matter. Christa's face crumpled. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm, but she shook it off and rushed from the courtroom. After this moment, her life was never the same. I know this because Michael told me, and he only knew because Sarah still occasionally ran into people who knew Christa. Apparently, after that hearing, something broke in her. She quit the job in Columbia, couldn't afford her apartment, and ended up moving back in with an old college friend in Virginia. The supervised visits became less frequent. Sometimes Christa would cancel, saying she was sick or had to work. Sometimes she just didn't show up. Margaret reported each instance to the court. Emily stopped asking about her mother as much. She had adjusted to her new normal, school, friends, her grandparents, me and Noir. We were her family now. We were stable, predictable, safe. On Emily's 8th birthday, 2 years after the divorce, we had a party at the house. Michael and Sarah came, Diane came, my parents and sister came, and several of Emily's school friends. Christa had visitation that day. It was her scheduled weekend, but she canceled. Said she had the flu. Emily barely reacted. She was too excited about her presence, about the cake shaped like a cat that Diane had made, inspired by Noir, about playing with her friends in the backyard. But that night, after everyone had gone home and Emily was in bed, I found a card on the kitchen table. It was addressed to Emily in Christa's handwriting. Inside was a generic birthday message and a $20 bill. I put the card in Emily's room where she'd find it in the morning. The money I put in her college fund. Christa might not be present in Emily's life, but she was still her mother, and I wouldn't erase that. The final chapter of this story came 3 years after the divorce. I had started dating someone, a woman named Rebecca who worked as a maritime insurance adjuster. We'd met professionally, discovered we had chemistry, and took things slow. Emily liked her, which was the most important thing. We were at a seafood restaurant near the inner harbor when I saw them. Christa and Jonathan, sitting at a table across the room. They were back together, apparently. They didn't see me at first. Rebecca noticed my attention. Is that? Yeah, I said. Do you want to leave? I thought about it. Then I looked at Rebecca, thought about Emily at home with her grandmother, thought about the life I'd built from the ruins of my marriage. No, I said. I don't. We finished our meal. As we were leaving, Christa looked up and saw me. Our eyes met. She looked away first. Outside, Rebecca took my hand. You okay? Yeah, I said and meant it. I really am. The ending of this story surprised even me. I thought I'd always carry anger, always feel that bitter sting of betrayal. But time and distance had done what I never expected. They'd brought peace. Not forgiveness exactly, but acceptance. Christa had made her choices. She had to live with the consequences. And I had made mine, to build a good life for my daughter, to surround her with people who valued loyalty and honesty, to show her that happiness was possible even after heartbreak. Emily is 10 now. She's smart, funny, kind. She has her mother's eyes, but, thankfully, none of her mother's capacity for deception. She still sees Christa occasionally. The visits are no longer supervised, though they're infrequent. Christa never became the mother Emily deserved, but she's peripheral enough now that her presence or absence doesn't destabilize Emily's world. Noir is getting old, sleeping more, moving slower. But he's still Emily's shadow, still purrs on her lap while she does homework, still sleeps at the foot of her bed every night. Rebecca and I got engaged last month. Emily helped pick out the ring. The wedding will be small, family and close friends. Michael will be my best man. Diane cried when we told her, happy tears this time. Christa will not be invited. That boundary is firm. Sometimes I think about that night when Marcus called me, when my world shattered. I think about the man I was then, trusting, perhaps naively so, believing in the permanence of marriage vows and the sanctity of family. I'm not that man anymore. I'm harder, more cautious, less willing to give trust freely. But I'm also stronger, more self-reliant, more aware of my own worth. I learned that love shouldn't require you to ignore red flags or make excuses for bad behavior. I learned that betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. I learned that the best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation or financial ruin. It's simply living well, raising your child right, and finding happiness without those who hurt you. Christa got what she wanted, Jonathan, the excitement of forbidden love, the romance of an affair. But she lost everything else: her family, her daughter's daily presence, her mother's love, her brother's respect, her community's regard, her own self-respect. And that wasn't my doing. That was the natural consequence of her choices, the inevitable result of burned bridges and broken trust. I didn't destroy her life. She did that herself. I just held up a mirror so everyone could see who she really was. And then I walked away and built something better. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.